Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact, an essential podcast for those who live, work, visit, and play in Carlsbad.
Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Bret Schanzenbach. I am the president and CEO of the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and I am your host this morning. And I'm very excited to have with me Brad and Beth Thorp from the Mitchell Thorp Foundation. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. So the Mitchell Thorp Foundation, you guys, not everybody, even though you've been around, not everybody necessarily knows, your history. And you started back in 2009, but you started after a very challenging life event that happened, with your son, a 5-year battle. So why don't you narrate that a little bit for everybody? What's that story? And that was your inspiration for starting your foundation.
So it was a long 5-year journey, and it took us all over the country looking for anybody to help our son, overcome the illness that he was battling. He passed of an undiagnosed illness, even autopsy showed inconclusive. And so...
That seems so odd in today's medical advancements that we could never figure out what he was battling.
But, this was 15, 17 years ago when genetic testing and DNA testing was there, just coming around.
Sure.
But it cost $100,000 to get a test versus today at $1,200.
Wow. Well, that's quite an advancement.
Yeah. So more families those that have been undiagnosed are now getting a chance to at least identify what the illness is, whether it's a missing gene. And, so they can at least know that there might be some hope down the road.
Yeah.
And they could network and, do those type of things. Facebook, any social media wasn't even really around when we were going through our journey.
Sure. So Mitchell had a 5-year battle with this undiagnosed disease, and he passed away which year?
2009.
He passed away, 2009. So the same year you started your foundation, you guys...
It was. It was 9 months after, what happened, the first thing that started was we were going to rename the ball field at Poinsettia Park in Mitchell's name. And that was our first thing. Some friends came to us and said, let's rename a ball field in Mitchell's honor because his love of baseball.
Yeah, I was going to say, he must have had a passion for baseball.
Yes. And, so renaming Poinsettia Park, the big field, Field 1 now is called Thorp Field.
Nice.
And there's a memorial plaque up behind on the scores table.
Nice. And how old was Mitchell when he passed?
He was 18.
He was 18. Okay. So he started that roughly 13. At 13.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Going into 8th grade. And it was the hard year.
Yeah, for sure. So 2009, you guys don't waste much time. You jump right in and start your foundation. So I love your purpose statement on your website about your foundation. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it says, make a difference today for a child fighting for their tomorrow while bringing hope and relief. What a beautiful statement and what a beautiful, mission. And of course, you're focusing on families with children suffering from life-threatening diseases. So from 2009 to you were about 12 years into it. Share with us some of the people that you've been able to serve through the foundation.
Wow, we've helped so many. It's, there's certain families that stand out in front of us, but they're, over the course of the years, it has been a beautiful thing to see how it has grown.
Yeah.
And, we have affiliations with all the children's hospitals up and down the coast. So people might ask, well, how do you find your families and your children?
Had that thought too,
It comes from the social workers, basically, when they're in the hospitals, and they can basically tell the family is really struggling to make ends meet. Because what we have found, like myself, one of the parents need to quit their job to save on that child, to advocate for the child and doctor's appointments and so forth. But those bills, those bills keep the same, and they keep coming in, and they become defined, even with insurance, so much out-of-pocket expenses that they get hit with that they have no idea that they get hit with.
Yeah.
So that's when the social workers will reach out. You should fill out an application for the Mitchell Thorp Foundation. So we come alongside these families. We are more than just giving a gift card.
Yeah.
and say good luck. We really walk the walk with them because cancer treatments usually take about 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of help these families along this path. So as you can imagine, the expenses that go with medical bills and helping keep a family afloat during this
the travel.
time.
You guys traveled all over.
Yes.
Sometimes we'll help families when they need to see a specialist out of state. So, for example, one miraculous story early on, it was like our third year, a family came to us when we were first starting the organization. Their child was born without an auditory, a brain stem implant is what she needed. Was not a typical candidate for the cochlear implant to hear. And it was not approved yet here in the United States for 12 and under. So they came to us and said, we did a lot of research. There's a very famous, well-known surgeon in Italy who's doing these procedures on children 12 and under. And we really want to have our daughter be able to hear at a young age versus wait till 12 in order to learn how to speak and so forth. So she says, however, the catch is, this is in Italy. It's $65,000 just to have the operation, plus 4 months or so to stay there with her until they can monitor her. So make the long story short, we're sitting there listening to this story. And because of our faith and where we've walked, and we saw when we started the foundation, people came out for Brad and I for our very first walkathon to help us pay off a $70,000 medical bill. And that's even with great insurance. So we were so humbled by that. And that's really how the foundation started with the 5K run walk, because when Mitchell was still alive, the community in Carlsbad and wherever came out and heard about our story and wanted to help. So I was like, okay, how much faith do you have? How much network do you have? This is going to take a community and a village to make this happen for your family. So to make a very long story short, they were able to raise pretty close to $65,000 to $68,000.
Nice.
They were able to get her over to Italy, perform the brain stem implant. Doctors from all around the world came in to witness how this procedure was done. 2 doctors out of LA to treat her when she came back.
Wow.
And the good news is now it's approved here in the United States for 12 and under.
That is tremendous.
Isn't that tremendous?
Wow.
The power of a family to make things happen for your child.
The ripple effects, that you helped not just her, but you helped how many others over the years now who have access to that procedure. What a phenomenal story. And I'm sure you have others that stick out in your mind too, and I'm all ears. I love the story. So if you have another one that you want to share before we move on.
Talk about Connor.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Connor was another family that came to us. They were with us for several years. We helped them for about 4 to 5 years, helping this child who also was undiagnosed when he was born. A lot of seizures, a lot of things happening. They couldn't quite figure out what was going on with the child. They had a wonderful network. They came alongside. We helped fundraise with them to get them all the procedures that this young child needed. To speed it up a little bit quicker, they came to us at that time. They wanted Connor's gene mapping done. So now it became a little bit more affordable to do it. They were able to figure out the gene in his case that was causing a lot of these neurodevelopment disorders in him. So she wanted to see if we could connect them and his mapping to a pharmaceutical company here in Carlsbad. So we connected them to Ionis.
Yes.
And those two, then we kind of stepped out of the picture. They took his gene mapping and now are creating a drug around it for other families.
Wow.
So another great story of what we were able to do, and over the years in the course of it all happening and connecting the dots for our families to help try to find cures. And that's what the bottom line is for families. They just want their kiddos better, and we are faced in this day and age with a lot of challenging illnesses out there.
So true. Wow. Fantastic stories. I mean, just life-changing, not just for the individual, but for many, many individuals down the road. So that's great. I was looking at your website and it talks about 4 different programs that you guys have. Medical and home assistance, healing and rehab, conversion vans, and your youth leadership council. So you've kind of touched on, like the medical and home assistance. I don't know, would you like to share a little bit more on the healing and rehab, and then we'll go into conversion vans and things?
Yes, when we first started the foundation, we really didn't know how many programs we were going to roll out because we didn't. And we knew medical and home assistance was the most urgent need.
Right.
So that was our very first one. Then as we progressed through the years, we saw a lot of the families coming out of the hospitals needed to continue with the rehab.
Yeah.
Many of the families said, we are all suffering from trauma. Not only the child going through the treatment, but the affected family, even down to sibling support.
Sure.
So we had to then say counseling services for trauma. It's almost post-traumatic stress disorder in a sense, and bringing the family together. We are happy to say that we've had a 100% success rate in keeping families together and not in the divorce or separation. Because the whole situation almost divorced us.
Sure.
Because of the stress is beyond measure.
Yeah.
And we knew that you need the family unit in order to get through this.
Yeah.
So we kind of make sure we get them that counseling they need.
And I think your website talks about 50% divorce rate with these kinds of situations.
Yeah, it's challenging. Yeah. Some of them either come to us with a whole family unit, and we try to really preserve and make sure everyone's can be as normal as possible.
Of course. Right
down to the siblings, hiring school tutors to help them get through their grades. And because I know in our case, our other son suffered greatly from A's, and all of a sudden seeing his grades go to C's and D's.
Sure.
It's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
How it affects everyone.
Yeah.
So we come along that. So that's the healing and rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And therapies.
Yeah, sure. So then conversion vans, I imagine there's some things, some infrastructure needs that families have just around their day-to-day transportation that they never anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
We had a potential board member come on board, and he needed a conversion van for his daughter, who eventually later passed. But it was about the child being able to enjoy their family time together.
Yeah.
While they can. These are a necessity, not just a luxury.
Yeah.
And the conversion van program, we've been able to gift 5 vans over the years. And
so are you retrofitting an existing van?
Sometimes we're retrofitting. Okay. Sometimes families are needing to buy a used one because their current van may be too old to retrofit. And we also partner with the resource centers here.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're able to help with the conversion part, where that's up to $10,000 to do a basic conversion.
Gotcha.
So we'll help with the funding of the getting the van for them.
Nice. All right. And then this one I thought was very interesting. You have a youth leadership council that you guys run through your foundation. So share with everybody about that.
That was a wonderful thing that evolved. When we started doing our events, we noticed a lot of the kids in the schools here wanted to be involved in our events. Mm-hmm. And we noticed that the kids like helping kids, and they really like to see where their efforts are going.
Sure.
Instead of some huge, large organization where they really don't see anything of the fruits of their labor. So Brad had suggested, wow, we really need to start a youth leadership program. So we were like, look, she said, that's perfect. That's awesome. Okay, so let's do this. So anyway, 12 years later, now going on our 13th year, we've grown the program, such a robust program now, to a servant leadership program, transforming our youth to be better servant leaders in the community. And what does that mean? Yeah. So they come alongside us. They learn servant leadership skills. Yeah. We meet monthly starting in August and run through the school year once a month through May. And not only are they trained in servant leadership concepts, but they also get involved with our events and helping with us, our families, our adoptive family for Christmas programs coming up.
Yes,
so they get involved with that. So, and then our big 5K run walk.
Sure.
They help tremendously with that and get to see our kids with that. We just rolled off our last graduation, 9 seniors that were in our program. Some of us stay with us for 4 to 6 years.
Wow.
We recruit in 8th grade through senior year.
How wonderful. Okay, we're going to take a brief pause to hear a word from our sponsor. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about your events and your funding and all that stuff. So we will be right back with Brad and Beth Thorp from the Mitchell Thorp Foundation. So one of the most important things any nonprofit needs is money, funding, right? I mean, you guys have a beautiful mission statement, purpose statement, but obviously without funding, it's hard to do all the things you're passionate about and would like to do. So let's talk about a couple. You've touched on them. They've come up in passing here in our time together, but let's talk about your Warrior Spirit 5K that typically runs in February. Talk about how that started and what it's like today.
Great. I mean, we're excited about this event. It's, our staple, it's our showcase. It's a chance to really get to, for the community to come together and be able to participate in a wonderful, inspirational event. But this actually was started, while Mitchell was still with us. 2 years before his passing, Beth had mentioned that the community had come out and held a walkathon for us to, help eliminate our medical bills. And here we are on our 13th year.
Wow.
But it's an exciting day. We have as many of the families and children that we are supporting that come out. And It's a chance for them to thank their supporters who come out also and, show what the foundation has meant to them. And, but it's a family fun festival. We got sky jumpers that open the ceremony up.
Wow.
Navy SEALs that come in, leapfrog safety instructors, the head guy that brings them in. And
that's awesome.
It's a beautiful day. We got bands, we got, DJ, we got all kinds of, besides the run and the walk. We've got the vendors and we're always looking for more vendors.
Sure.
But then we have the jumpy area for the kids to have fun and just so it's more than just a 5K, event.
And it's in February. So February what?
5th.
February 5th, 2022.
Yes.
All right. February 5th. Can people already sign up?
2 weeks.
Okay.
In another week.
By the time this episode is released, it'll be open, and so people will be able to go and sign up for the February 5th, 2022 Warrior Spirit 5K. That sounds great. And I hope to have my family there.
We love that.
Yeah. No, we love 5Ks. So that'll be really fun. So your other big fundraiser comes from one of your passions, Brad, and which spilled over to Mitchell, and that has to do with baseball. So before we talk about the event that you guys do, tell us a little bit about your background with baseball.
Well, I was fortunate to be able to play with the Los Angeles Dodgers for 3 years in their minor league system. I started out at AA.
Yeah.
Some of my teammates that year were Fernando Valenzuela, Mike Marshall, Steve Sachs, Oral Hershiser. Household
Dodger names.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was an exciting time. Wouldn't trade it for anything else except for what we're doing today.
Yeah.
But, it was till I was a pitcher. So third year, second game, throwing a 3-hit shutout, 7th inning, tore the shoulder. Yeah, so that was sort of the end of the career there. It never came back. But
you translated that into your time with your son. And you coached him through the time that he played.
Yes, and when we were here in San Diego, I was able to be able to coach Mitchell and also be on the board of La Costa Youth Organization. And many years, I coached each level for 4 years at a time since my sons were 2 years apart. So it was a lot of baseball. Coaching both of them, but a great enjoyment and, it was a great learning lesson, life lessons that, come out of baseball.
Well, and, now with obviously what Mitchell went through, that tragedy, I'm sure it gives you something to look back, like that bond that you had during those times is special. I know, I haven't had any kids go through anything like Mitchell went through, but I had a blast. I've coached 7 years of basketball with my kids, multiple of my kids at different ages and levels. And it's just so fun, those memories that you create, you can't create them any other way.
No, they're pure joy.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You've evolved your connection with baseball with your foundation. So talk about the Grand Slam baseball tournament.
Well, Mitch always said to me, in my, spirit, it's like, what took you so long, to, put this baseball tournament together? But we held our second annual Grand Slam for Mitchell. It was September 24th to the 26th.
Nice.
We had 60 travel baseball teams participate.
Wow.
We used some fields here in Carlsbad and also San Marcos to host all the games. And it was a wonderful long weekend.
Yeah.
But we were able to touch, 900 kids and, another 2,000 parents or more.
Nice.
So it was a special day and a special closing ceremonies that we had there.
And
I didn't realize it was so new, like only a couple of years. I mean, obviously you probably had to take a year off because of COVID, but still, it's only, a couple of years old.
Yes. So that was a fun event. And always great to see some of Mitchell's past coaches are still coaching baseball.
Sure.
And to have them participate in it was really special.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And September we held it specifically in September because it's Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So we make sure that we have all the gold ribbons out there, all the players and coaches and umpires supported wearing their gold ribbons in support and recognition and awareness for childhood cancer awareness. Because 68% of the children we help have cancer. We left the foundation non-disease specific because Mitchell was undiagnosed, so we help children with all kinds of issues.
Sure.
But a lot of cancers.
Cancer's the biggest, which makes sense. Yeah. What are other fundraisers that you guys have beside? Those are your two biggies.
Those are a big one. And we also had a third one that was a big one. We don't know if it's coming back, but that was in partnership with the World Team Tennis and the San Diego Aviators at La Costa, usually in the end of July. But they were out last year. Yeah. This year they're out in Palm Desert.
Oh, right. They moved.
And we don't know if they're going to come back again,
Sure.
For next year. So, but if it does come back, we'll be right there with them. And so our events center around a lot of activities and sports. And unfortunately,
it fits Mitchell, right?
Yes. But we enjoy it, so that was our third event. But, we've been fortunate to still, give out over $2 million to the community here in San Diego and keeping the roof over their head and food on the table for these families.
That's wonderful. Well, besides fundraising, Beth, you have something new coming out. You have a book that's coming out next year, 2020. And for those of you at home who can't see this, I have an advanced copy of the cover in my hands here, and it's beautiful. So the book is called A New Creation. So tell us about how this came together and what this is all about.
Well, it's going to be coming out to the brick and mortar stores in June of 2022.
Nice.
So we are able to pre-launch the book, and anyone who wants to pre-order a book for make a nice Christmas gift, we'll have books in hand November and December.
Oh, okay.
So our job is to pre-launch.
Oh, okay.
So we'll be out with the book. A New Creation is the title. Finding Meaning in the Midst of Tragedy is the subtitle. And it really is a memoir. It's a book about our life.
Nice.
And our story and what we went through. So many people over the years have told us, you really need to tell your story. You really need to see what happened here and the fingerprints of God through it all. So it is an inspirational, I want it written as a story.
Yeah.
And we eventually want to take it to film.
Oh, wow.
So it's a story about love. It's a story about faith. It's persevering through trials. It's a story about having courage and how community comes around us like they did. It's about forgiveness, and it's about God's grace, His healing and restoration through, even when we felt like He wasn't there along the way, but He was. And there's great nuggets in the book about how God and Mitchell spoke to our spirits and profoundly showed us signs and just God's promises along the way to keep us living and to finding purpose in our pain through Mitchell's death. And we discovered that God never wastes a tragedy, right? We've learned to take the tragedy and to put it into something really inspirational to help other families and to be that light in the dark
Yeah.
Because it's really scary when you walk in and you're seeing families who are just so overwhelmed.
Sure.
And we go into the hospital rooms and we want to be that light in the dark to let them know they're not alone.
Yeah.
That you will be taken care of.
Yeah.
And then most often the families are very open for prayer. So we're very
Yeah.
faith-based, and we'll pray with them. We'll come alongside them. And we just make sure that they know that they are loved through this process of what they're going through. So ultimately, it's the book demonstrates us being a witness for God. Does that make sense? Of how God worked through us.
Yeah.
And how we were able to, even though we didn't really know what was going on,
Sure.
but we were like, God spoke to my spirit very early on that in the deepest part of my pain and grief, He's clearly said to my spirit, this is not the end. This is the beginning.
Mm.
And
Wow.
I just stood up and shook my head and like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I didn't know what that,
Yeah.
beginning of what? And that was like, beginning of what?
Sure.
And then Brad came back from when he was at church one day in a meeting, and the Spirit spoke to him and said, we need to form a foundation to help more families going through what we went through.
Mm.
And then he comes home to tell me that. And then I was like, you want to do what?
Yeah.
And so, again, that kind of brings it full circle how it was born. And then I began to understand, okay, this is not the end. This is the beginning.
Yeah.
And so now fast forward, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
how God took us, wrapped His arms around us through our pain,
Took your tragedy.
took our tragedy as we were still grieving. So I write about this in the story. We also write about how God speaks to His followers,
Yeah.
for those that listen
Yeah.
and
That's
that understand how Mitchell and God spoke to us that month of his passing. So some miracle signs and wonders that we documented that's in the book.
Yeah.
That we've shared. Then pastors have shared our story on the pulpit.
Oh, that's great.
So about it. So many of us then, when people say, you really need to write your story.
Yeah.
So it took COVID to shut everything down,
To give you
cancel
that-
my
yeah.
events, and to finally pour it all out and put it into this book. So it is a beautiful story. It's an inspirational story about bringing people together and just hold this supernatural phenomenon called the ripple effect
Yeah.
that drew people to us,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the ripple effect of helping so many other families and children. So to me, Mitchell's spirit is still so alive and well.
Yes.
And that through him and through God, it's just a beautiful thing to watch how it has grown to touch so many.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. And so you said that you're going to have advanced copies in November and December, which is right around the time when our listeners will be hearing this. So they could order an advanced copy by going to your website. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So the mitchellthorpe.org, www.mitchellthorpe.org.
Yes.
And then I can find the information about the book there.
Yeah, it'll be on the front page there.
Yeah.
There'll be an image of the book, and then under ways to give is where the ordering will take place.
Tremendous. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I love that you're already thinking could be possibly adapted for film. I mean, how amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the end goal. We want to get the book in the hands of some Christian film producers,
Sure.
or just any film producer for that matter, but who can take this true inspirational story out to the world. And just another amazing side note to that, when I was writing the book and then figuring out who to publish it. I mean, it was daunting. I didn't know
Yeah.
where to begin. And so I met a woman at the time who wrote the book Heaven is for Real.
Yeah.
And that went to film. And
Yes, it
I
did.
met her at a
Seen that.
conference, and we chatted, and she looked over my book proposal, and she gave me some good feedback. And then we talked about publishers. And on the first submission to a New York publisher, Morgan James Publishing, they can't promise you anything, right?
Of course.
When you're submitting all these book proposals. And first submission, he said, yes, congratulations. This is going to be in print.
Wow.
So, and it was so
That's
beautiful.
amazing.
The letter came back to us the week of Mitchell's passing in November. I mean, talk about
Yeah.
the time,
Providence, yeah.
the timing. I was just like, I held the letter to the heavens and went, oh, you're funny. This is
Yeah.
really good. You're
Yeah.
good. You're good.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
great.
he wants his story told, and it's
awesome.
so it's a lot of it's a faith-based book. It's under the
Sure.
faith-based arm of the publishing company.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's tremendous. Very exciting. I should also, I can't let you guys leave without mentioning that you were our Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce 2020 Nonprofit of the Year
Yes.
at our CBAT Awards. So just a year ago.
Woo-hoo.
Yep, that was awesome. We love having you guys.
It was virtual, but we enjoyed
Yeah,
it. It was
darn.
a total shock to us.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yes, it meant a lot. As a matter of fact, I talk about that in the book.
Oh, really?
So there's a plug for you.
Man,
You got the award in there.
I have to get multiple copies. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to come down and share with us today. And thank you for all that you do. And we want to encourage everybody to go sign up for the Warrior Spirit 5K and get an advanced copy of your book.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.